Well, what do you look at that? Another controversial video by Super Luigi World 27. What should we expect from the guy who didn't like turning red? Of course you hate stuff people like for views. I mean, it must be the reason why you created this video a year after hype for ENA died down, and uploading the turning red video 2 months after turning red released, although that was due to other factors. He's the some contrarian sunning. Settle down, guys, settle down. In reality, I am not the some contrarian who hates the media that people like. In this case, I have valid reasons on why I don't think the series in question lives up to my standards. With that being said, I think it's finally time to discuss the web series once and for all. ENA is a web series created by Joe G, who is known for creating Hands Up and other animated projects, which will be important to know by the end of this video. Fast forward to May 2020 and we got our first glimpse of ENA, Joe's new character that will later blossom into a fully realized animated web series. Inspired by a girl before and mirrored by Pablo Picasso and the art of Romero Brito, ENA was designed to be as abstract and nonsensical as possible, but the character and world around her being in the same manner. The first episode of ENA is a pretty good example of what the show is: nonsensical and unexplainable. The episode begins on some hill with tombstones planted all over it. Apparently they are the crowd. Right before one can comprehend what they are even watching, a giant cassette player puppeteers some humanoid creature that is the host of the auction. The puppet then offers the prize for a dog inside an hourglass. What? Which turns out to be 20 chocolate bars, the currency used in ENA's world. Once one of the tombstones bids for the auction, a Kiva bug rains down locks below, destroying many tombstones in the process. Mooney, ENA's companion, complains about the circumstances, which ends once ENA throws up static out of her mouth. Mooney is dumbfounded by ENA's actions and explains to ENA that she should act before throwing up, because apparently throwing up in this universe is a voluntary thing. What even is this series at this point? I'm not even fully finished talking about the first episode, and I'm already having doubts about continuing this video. Anyways, ENA's static throw up tilts into the dog that was previously inside an hourglass, which marks the abrupt end of the episode. What a mess! This episode is a showcase of everything you shouldn't do when writing the first episode. Nothing is introduced or explained throughout the screen time, even though many are expecting some type of introduction of the characters and their personalities when viewing the first episode of the series, as that is what most competent series do. Some might counteract my claim by saying that the series is meant to be confusing to its viewers, but they fail to understand that a first episode should establish the world presented to a viewer, even if said world is abstract to the point of no explanation. The writers, Joel's job, is to present the viewer to a concept through description while setting some type of future stakes throughout the lengths given, but nothing is set up in this episode. This episode should have been reworked into a proper introduction of the characters and world, as a future episode of the series introduces these aspects better, even if I think that the quality is not up to my standards either. Moving on, episode 2 actually works on the flaws of the previous episode. Slightly, just slightly, however. While the mess that is episode 1 didn't have any proper direction, episode 2 tries to tell a narrative, even with the nearly abstract world. On the point of abstraction, the abstract world showcased in the episode is not properly developed, as it is clear as day that Joe wanted to make an abstract series, but didn't know how to properly implement it into reality. Although episode 1 introduced its characters, episode 2 somewhat gives us much more clarification on the world and generates some stakes in the world presented. Episode 2 introduces the viewer to new environments like the maze and Mooney's residence, or whatever you call it. Unfortunately, the episode still suffers from a lack of clarification, as there are many things established or ignored that raises the viewer's eyebrows in a bad and terrible manner. Episode 2, while being a better introduction than episode 1, still has a lot of problems with presenting us to the characters that we have no explanations of. I am not asking for full backstories of every character or something like that. I just want to have an established world and gain knowledge of the end goal and meaning of this series, which was clearly not thought through enough when producing this, most likely expensive, series. There's not much more to say about episode 2, however, so I'll just move on to the latest and longest episode of the trio, Temptation Stairway. The third episode of this series, Temptation Stairway, manages to fail as an episode and solidifies the fact that ENA is a series that is just a waste of time to watch, and should have had a second look at before becoming the full series that it is today. Temptation Stairway is really what caused me to create this video, as what is apparently the most influential and well-known episode of this series is really just nothing for 17 minutes, plastered as a full-length web animation. First off, ENA states that she wants to go home in response to Mooney's statement, which means that there are some stakes in this series that were not explained earlier for some reason, meaning that people will have to pick up the pieces that Joel should have established since the very beginning. This series thus gets worse and worse once you look deeper into it, doesn't it? Mooney mentions the Great Lunas, an entity, in a way that points to the viewer knowing about said entity beforehand.
You know, it smells like I'll finally be able to make my wish. Come on, Anna. Jenna. Come Come on, don't ruin my moment. I just had the bestest idea. We'll make a bet. Whoever reaches the top of the Great Runas and makes their wish first has to pay the debts of the loser. No way! The Great Runas is here! The bet's on! Now let's get him!
Which is just not the case. The biggest problem with ENA stems from the fact that it presents itself in an episodic manner, even though the series is obviously a narrative-driven series. This causes some major problems, as the viewer will feel like they missed something. Thus, to find out that a major part of the plot was built in a way that confuses the viewer into thinking that it was staying in the early part of the series. This will probably become a bigger problem with future installments of this series, but for now, it's only the biggest problem with Temptation Stairway, specifically. It's kind of funny that I forgot to explain this earlier, but the series is reminiscent of a 90s computer game, which is why the animations are choppy, and the looks of the series looks at games like Sonic Schoolhouse and Baldi's Basics, both trying to be Baldi. After some endgame like timer, ENA eclipses Tuan, and while traversing towards the Great Lunas, the creature turns into some type of ghost school for some illogical and nonsense reasons, I suppose. ENA then falls into the void and later enters some doorway that leads to some Windows 98 screensaver looking area. After talking to some disfigured 16th century humanoid figure, ENA learns some information on her location and how she can make it to the Great Lunas. Once this occurs, ENA is greeted to a Turbo OS X world where Eliza Greenhouse Field was the dog seen in the first episode of the series, Auction Day. Once the take in the greenhouse field comes to a screeching halt, a lip containing some cat-looking creature pops out to the viewer. The cat, who primarily speaks Russian, says something that sparks some interest into the viewer. Which indicates that ENA is a species, and the ENA we are seeing is thus one of several. You know, that would have been some useful information if we were on the first episode, but nope. I guess Joel didn't think that through when writing the first episode, as we are being introduced to concepts that were supposed to be showcased to us from the very beginning. I'm just gonna say that again. This series is a complete mess. To get back on topic, the cat figures out that ENA has a Tuan in her possession, which allows her to progress through her journey. ENA encounters it and eventually enters an ocean containing code, which transfers her to a void full of open doors. Once she enters the door, we agree to another nonsensical and useless area full of mannequins and banana, again for no logical and engaging reason. After talking with an NPC, ENA eventually reaches some deserted foggy area with some inverted pyramid and some black hole with eyes on the rings that were orbiting around it. The black hole then shoots out a pink dolphin named Pindol, who is a supposed comedic character in this series. Pindol wreaks of all the problems with the series as a whole, as he is abstract to the point of not giving much of an impression to the viewer side. What is the point of this character? Eventually, Pindol gives in and gives ENA the proper advice needed to open the door to progress to the Great Lunas. Following the opening of the door, ENA is greeted to a jumping session. Once she finally reaches the Lunas, ENA is jump scared by Mooney, meaning that ENA didn't make it on time to not pay Mooney's debt. We then figured out that Mooney wished to be dinner, which we see soon afterwards.
Cheese and rice, Mooney!
Alright! I wish to be thinner!
For some reason, ENA turns into a full-on Simpsons character, which brings us to the end of the episode. So there you have it. All 3 ENA episodes are fully discussed and critiqued. In that case, what do I think of the series so far in its entirety? In my opinion, ENA is complete garbage, and it's just a waste of time and talent. The show tries to be abstract to the point of being a nothing burger, a complete and utter waste of time for the viewer. The plot seems to be scattered all over the place, due to key plot elements being mentioned nonchalantly and when they should have been mentioned earlier in the series. The forced abstract tone of the series severely deters the writing quality, meaning that there is nothing of substance besides some random jokes that don't land the majority of the time. It feels as if ENA was created in the sense of being this abstract type of series without knowing what makes an abstract series work. An abstract series knows how to separate abstractions from telling a comprehensive story, something that ENA does not attempt to do. ENA is clearly a sad case of waste of talent, as Joel G has shown time and time again that he created high quality animations with decent writing, but it seems to me that he couldn't do the same with ENA. In my opinion, the only reason why ENA is being pushed by Joel instead of his other projects due to the massive popularity behind the series, showcased all over the internet. It's sad to see that such a mid-product like ENA is what gets popular on the internet these days, as Joel has created 2 other series that I think should have gotten the spotlight ENA has currently, 2 Ants 1 President and Hands Up especially. While 2 Ants 1 President is a decent series, I think that Hands Up is the greatest out of the 2, or out of the 3 if you consider ENA to be on par with those 2. Oh no. Hands Up is what ENA tries to be, abstract with a sense of purpose, while the oddities of Hands Up is much more grounded than ENA. Episodes like the Elevator show that abstract and surreal concepts can work with clear structure. Hands Up follows aliens Margot and Ula, space cops who are tasked to keep the city secure, while handling the daily lives surrounding their job. Many shorts utilize musical elements to accompany the situation presented, with the plan and winner and ambush being clear examples of this. The show, however, tells a narrative of each episode, with songs being used to showcase what is going on to the viewer, something that ENA does not attempt to do with abstraction. Speaking of abstraction, Hands Up does have episodes that take advantage enter the audience forming conjectures while making some sort of sense. Both the void and the elevator revolve around a mysterious building that breaks space-time and transports the characters to unknown areas. The latest episode of Hands Up, written in Ambers, was released on May 21st, 2021, with the series being on an indefinite hiatus to this very date with no announcement on future episodes. This isn't the first time this has happened to a Joel G series, however, as Joel's previous project, 2 Ants 1 President, fell into the same hiatus as well. The latest episode, 2 Ants 1 President, Hallie, was released on September 15th, 2017, with no future episodes in sight. It seems to me as if Joel has a track record of starting projects and abandoning them after a few episodes or so. Around October 2019, you can't find out a certain neighbor's community post. Joel updated his YouTube community regarding the status of 2 Ants 1 President, saying that the series was not cancelled, but only on hiatus due to the amount of time needed to complete an episode of the series. Joel ended his update by saying that the series will continue once he receives an adequate amount of support and other animators to help. He has additional animators as of recent times, and then he will continue the highly requested series. Fast forward to almost late 2022, and we still have nothing regarding the continuation of the series. It still seems as if Joel lied to his fans, doesn't it? Now that he has an adequate amount of support and additional animators, shouldn't he live up to his promise? Well, it turns out he wasn't gonna do it anyways. It seems like Hands Up will receive the same fate, unfortunately. It sucks to see that a great project from Joel G was abandoned for a more popular project, but I guess Joel's viewers shouldn't believe any of his half-hearted promises from now on. Now that we have established Joel's lack of following through with his projects, we can now understand why ENA is getting the forefront over everything else he has created. It prints money. Honestly, have you even looked at his merch store? Joel's store is designed after ENA's weird core aesthetic and is filled with ENA merchandise, which I can presume makes the most revenue for him on that site. If it wasn't obvious before, it's pretty obvious now. ENA is the main focus of Joel's channel, even if it means that his older fans will be left astray. Joel will probably phase out Hands Up if necessary in order to complete the transformation to avoid making content for the ENA series. Joel will more than likely run ENA to the ground due to success alone, abandoning everything he has created before to rush out as much ENA material as possible with no creative passion itself to be considered. It's safe to say that ENA will be milked for what it's worth, turning Joel's channel into nothing but a content farm, similar to modern SML. Comparably to SML, Joel created projects that many people enjoy just to abandon them and create soulless content that appeals to a wider audience while declining in quality. ENA is just lacking in any substance, and it's clear to me that Joel has no real passion toward what he's creating, and is only continuing ENA for the revenue generated from the future franchise, akin to SML milking its successful characters like Jeffrey and Bowser Jr. Joel will probably continue to break promises about his series as well, just like Logan has done many times before. Logan and Joel G surprisingly have a lot in common, even if SML is a puppet show that is able to be produced in less than a week, while Joel creates animations that take several months to complete at a time. I wasn't even forcing myself to mention SML at all. It's just that the similarities leak this ugly face at me. Ultimately, ENA can be saved if Joel steps back from the project to let others write the series properly in order for the series to reach its fullest potential. ENA could be a series with potential from thus improving the distraction to a reasonable point for the audience. The new writers will have to retool the sloppy writing and fix the mismatched continuity and plot points, but it's not impossible with a light amount of effort. Joel simply cannot write an abstract series like ENA properly, so letting others do so might be the better choice overall. A few positives I have with the series consist of the presentation, character designs, and the characters themselves. I have to admit that the world of ENA is interesting to the point where I'd like to see more of it, as the presentation is pleasing and mysterious at the same time. In addition to the world, the characters, specifically the main characters, have the potential to be great once the writing is improved, but as of now are alright, to an extent. The character designs are also above average, but that is always expected from Joel G, so that really isn't a major compliment. As you can see, ENA has a lot of potential, but that potential is severely limited by the creator, Joel G, due to his below average writing when it comes to ENA. Joel, in the time after he hires writers, can go back to working on Hands Up and maybe other projects that he is known to excel in, which will allow for more than one series to be acted at the same time, pleasing all of his fans, both old and new. I say maybe because I doubt that he would continue 2 Ants 1 President due to the low amount of music and length of time since the last episode. Hands Up is more than likely to continue than the latter, but it's fine by me. It's not like the series is completely phased out at this point, as the series is still being sold as merchandise on Joel's website. To summarize this video up, ENA's current state is garbage. It needs some major retooling with its writing and plot elements in order for the series to be any good. Joel needs to take a step back from ENA and give the project to people who know what they're doing. That's for the series and channel stake as a whole. ENA has nothing but missed potential, and I need to see some major changes with the next episode/game, Dream BBQ, to have any hopes for this current trash bag of a series.
Can I ask for one more?
Yes.
Would you kindly reveal the wish you made to me?
I'm not telling you. You are going to make fun of me.
What the fuck?